How are you, man? It's good to see you.
I, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. We needed an expert outside voice because Dave and I played some cuts from people yesterday, read a couple of blurbs written about the Seahawks from national voices. And they all seem to point to the fact that they believe the Seahawks took a step back, that they're one of the teams that didn't improve in the offseason. And they're looking at, well, Geno's better than Sam Darnold, and DK and Tyler and JSN are better than Cooper Kupp and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and JSN, and the new coordinator's not going to fix everything. It was just kind of an overwhelming sentiment that, yeah, they're not going to be very good. What is your opinion from the outside?
Well, I mean, Sam Darnold was absolutely unbelievable last year, right? Like 4,400 yards. He had a bunch of touchdowns. I mean, he was great. And of course, everybody points to the last two games of the season where they didn't play as well. But Sam Darnold had a phenomenal all-pro type season. So, I mean, that's number one. And do I think that Sam Darnold and Geno Smith, or Sam Darnold's better or worse than Geno Smith? I think they're very like quarterbacks. So, like, I wouldn't look at that and say, wow, we really downgraded the quarterback position. And then ultimately, offensive line wise, philosophy of offensive line and philosophy of run game and philosophy of tying the run game to the passing game. Those things are important. And I will tell you this with Cooper Kupp, everybody talks about the injury stuff, and that's legitimate, missing some time. But Cooper Kupp is one of the great, not good, but great wide receivers in this league from the standpoint of having duality, really being involved in the run game and what he gives you. And I think I don't know if I've told you guys this or not, but um, back in Los Angeles, they developed a package. They used to call it 11 and a half personnel. And that's with one tight end, and that's with Cooper Kupp. And the reason that they called it 11 and a half personnel is because all they ran out of that was their 12 personnel, two tights package. And so you're getting to a two tights package, you're going to get some type of heavy personnel, some type of big, base personnel where you have extra linebackers in. But Cooper Kupp is so diligent and so good on the edge in the run game. He blocks things in combination with tight ends, in combinations with tackles, tray blocks with a tackle up to the force where he is like having an extra tight end. So it was a real advantage in their run game and what they were able to do. So you couple that with this new offense with Kubiak, like those things to me are really big time, like feathers in the cap or check marks in the plus for the Seahawks.
Well, and one of the analysts, Mark Kapadia, who used to work here, great guy, everything. It's not like he's out to screw the Seahawks or anything like that.
Mhm.
But he was talking about how the Seahawks are the only team that lost a top 10 quarterback because we were trying to figure out, okay, well, are we drinking the Kool-Aid here or are we too close to it? But he's right, and I guess from the outside, and I'm not sure how you see it, but Geno got nothing but crapped on last year here locally. Everybody
Right.
was nitpicking everything, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you lost a top 10 quarterback. So I don't know how did you view him moving on? Him and DK both. They obviously didn't want to be here.
Yeah, well, that's obvious. And Geno Smith, like I'm a bigger fan than most in the national media of Geno Smith. I wouldn't necessarily put him in the top 10 of my list of top 10 quarterbacks, which consists of about 14 guys. So I wouldn't probably put him in my list of top 10. But I think he's a very good quarterback. Listen, man, I get that. I get that people get nervous, right? And I get that you see name value talent. I'll tell you a story. Last year in Denver, I'm doing my local radio show in Denver, and there are all kinds of people like that were talking about the Denver Broncos from a national media standpoint, right? And they talked about like they were doing rating each roster, and they had the Broncos rated anywhere from like 29 to 31 in all these different national publications. And it kind of irked me. And so I'm on the radio and I'm on television here back in New York saying, just because you don't recognize the names nationally doesn't mean that these guys can't play. And it really irritated me, right? So I think there's that aspect of it's name value. You've lost some name value but how efficient, how productive was that name value? And and to me, especially on the offensive side of the ball, like the execution of scheme and knowing what you run. Like when I talk to different teams, and I've talked to a lot of them and consulted with a lot of different teams, there's value. There's value in knowing exactly what you guys are, what your identity is. And one of the best things about playing in Denver for Mike Shanahan is when we would get into situational football, we get into the red zone, we get on the goal line, especially in second down and short and third down and short. I knew in second down and short, we're not throwing a bomb to see if we can take advantage of the defense, right? We were a conversion team, and there was three plays that were coming in. There was 18-19 handoff, there was 14-15 handoff, or there was quarterback sneak. And it was 100%. And then it came down to, the 10,000 hour rule or 10,000 play rule. I've run this 10,000 times. You've defended 100 times. I'm better than you. I'm going to whip your ass. And so there's value in understanding what you are as an offense. And obviously, last year, you're putting in a brand new offense, right? There's no continuity within that offense. You're using a collegiate coach to implement an NFL, to implement an offense in the NFL. And there are a lot of things that don't translate from the college game to the professional game. It's interesting. Cliff Kingsbury had a great year as the offensive coordinator last year for Washington, and everybody wants to point to Jaden Daniels and all those things. But talking to Cliff Kingsbury, he'll sit there and he will tell you, man, there were so many things I did not understand coming out of college about attacking and controlling the middle of the football field in the NFL because it's not the way it's designed in college. And so he was like, I really did not know how to use my tight ends properly because we were mostly a four wide receiver base in the college game. And there's a lot of that goes on in the college game, and really understanding how vital that those hash marks make the middle of the field and being able to control and own the middle of the field. That's absolutely paramount in having a successful offense in the NFL. And so you get people with experience coming to Seattle that understand that aspect of the game.
How much better, and I'm sure it's unique to each coach, but the fact that Mike Macdonald now has a year under his belt and he understands what goes into an NFL season as a head coach. It felt like Dave and I would talk about it before. It felt like when he got hired, it was a little later, and when they added Ryan Grubb, it was even a little later. It felt like they were cramming for a test to get ready for the season and the draft, and everything felt rushed.
Yeah.
Now he's got the full complement of the offseason. He knows what he's in store for. How much of an impact do you think that makes, if any, in your mind?
I think it's huge. I think like you don't know what you don't know until you kind of stub your toe along the way, right? And that's how you learn. I started this TV show I don't know how many months ago in August or or beginning of September, and they asked me to host it. I'll be honest with you, I've never hosted anything. I was a train wreck early. I mean, an absolute train wreck.
I'm sure that
And
it was not that bad.
no, it was bad, and thankfully nobody watches us, so nobody really knew how bad I was. But the point being is you learn the rhythm of it. You learn, and the other thing that I would tend to lose is I was so concerned about getting us to where we needed to go and listening to the producers and doing all those things that you lose your personality during it,
Right.
right? And
Yes.
so your ability to maintain your personality, to be in relationship with the guys that you do the TV show with, to listen to the producer and get us where we need to go. That was for me a huge learning curve. And it took me a long time rewriting scripts and changing the way the scripts are on the page that fit my eyes and the learning disabilities I had growing up and all those things, man. It was unbelievable. And where I am now compared to where I was in August when I started this thing, it's night and day. But I would have never experienced that until I went through it. And so, for a head coach, there are so many things that you implement, so many things that you do that when you look back on it, you're like, wow, I really screwed that up. And man, I wish I had that play back. And that's not going to happen to me again. So I think year two is where, you really start to feel comfortable in implementing what you want to do, who you want to be, and obviously that's why they made the changes they made from a coaching staff standpoint and everything else.
Yeah, there's starting to be some stories that are sort of filtering out, and that a lot of the players, I don't know that it was necessarily personal, but that a lot of the players didn't really care for Grubb. I think he might have rubbed some people the wrong way or whatever. I mean, look, I thought, he was doing his best, right? But yeah, I'm just curious about that. And then Cliff Kubiak. I feel like that guy, he's a really good teacher, and, he has a system that's proven and everything. And, so to me, I mean, if on one hand, nationally you go, okay, well, they got a brand new coach and they got 2 offensive coordinators in 2 years, but I don't know, it seems like a proven system. And, with Kubiak and, that's kind of the Shanahan tree and everything. I don't see why they shouldn't hit the ground running just because it's such a widely run offense.
Yeah, and Klint has done such a great job. Go back to his Minnesota time. Uh, with the Vikings, and you look at all that he has done there, and then he was in New Orleans and doing that, and so he's worked with a bunch of different quarterbacks, obviously, and so all those things are true. And then the system, you really understand the system, the system, you have all the answers. And I think for a lot of NFL players, I know myself, this is the way it was for me, man. I wanted to know what the rule was, right? I want to know what the answer in the rule was. If I get this is the call I make, and this is how we deal with this blitz or this, zone dog or whatever it is, right? And I want to know those rules, and I want to have somebody who really understands that, and it's not making it up on the fly. That there is a tried and true way to pick this up and to block these things, right? And so, you've gone through a system and you've implemented a system, and you've had Kirk Cousins and had success with Kirk, and you've gone around and you've done this. Now you really know you've got a bunch of coaches that are on your staff that really understand and are connected together. But the thing I love about Klint and about some of the guys on his staff that I know really well, they're also not they're also not a coaching staff that's basically telling players, hey, this is just the way it is. Like, if there's a better way to invent the wheel, if there's a better way to do something, and you've got a great idea, or you're something that you're not comfortable with, man, they're great from a listening standpoint and going, okay, that makes sense to me. Let's implement it or do it a different way. And that goes back to Kubiak. It goes back to Clint's father, Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan, always really good about listening to players and understanding what the players are trying to understand, what the players are going through, and then creating, taking that system and maybe tweaking certain things based upon quarterback's eyes or what he feels or anybody within that system.
Mark, when you look at this division, who's the team to beat in your mind? Just, the 49ers had a down year, but they had a ton of injuries. Assuming everybody's healthy, how does it stack up for you?
I would still look at the 49ers. I think the Rams are still really good, obviously, with Stafford and all that, and and the additions they've made. But I still think the 49ers are really good. A lot of people, are concerned or maybe don't believe in Brock Purdy, but I'm a Brock Purdy believer. I think the guy is unbelievable from the neck up, the way he reads through progressions, get the ball out of his hands, all those things. They've got to be healthy. The running back position, Christian McCaffrey's got to be healthy. It wasn't just Christian McCaffrey, man. They lost their backup to the backup, the backup to the backup to the backup. Like, they lost all their running backs. And the wide receivers. The other thing, there was some tension there. The Debo thing, obviously, the fighting on the sidelines, some of the infighting, that stuff wasn't great. And very much like Seattle, I had an opportunity to do a couple San Francisco games late, and looking at some of the young talent that developed, why injuries happen. Hufunga's out, right? You've got all the linebacker Greenlaw was out, and then when Debo was hurt a couple times, Ayuk is out. they had Jennings came in at the wide receiver position. That dude was phenomenal. And so, like, they discovered that they've got a lot of really good players. Ricky Pearsall, the kid they drafted in the first round, got shot, was out for the beginning of the season. Uh, that dude came on toward the end of the season, was actually really good. So I think, again, very much like Seattle, there's a lot of players that are really good on that roster that you just haven't heard of yet. And they're going to get an opportunity this year and this season to prove themselves.
How do you think Geno will do with Pete there in Vegas with the Raiders? I know that they had kept in touch and everything, and just
Right.
Pete just has this great personality where no matter how he left or if he did something he didn't like, whatever, everybody loves Pete. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of an interesting relationship that him and Geno had, during the season. It sounded like they were talking. But what do you think about that combination?
I think it's great. I mean, first and foremost, like just advice. Like the best thing you can do for your kids is to believe in them, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
give them opportunities and to kind of nurture them. And Pete has that relationship with a lot of players, as you know, Dave. He's very much that way. But Pete, every time I talk to Pete doing games, when Geno was the quarterback, man, effusive in his praise. He couldn't say enough good things about Geno. And not just in the meetings with the production crew. I always would talk to Pete, 8, 10, 15 minutes on the field before the game. And he couldn't have been any like more affectionate towards Geno as a quarterback and his skill set and his intelligence and what he does with the football. And then, Pete, I mean, Pete wants to get back in the time machine and turn it into 90s football.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that because I think it works. He's going to run the ball. He wants to control the line of scrimmage. Geno's okay with that, right? He's okay handing it off. They want to shorten the game as much as possible and get it into the fourth quarter and win a one score game. And that's how Pete operates. And I think there's a ton of value in that type of coaching, and I think Pete's phenomenal that way. And I know one thing, man, he truly believes that Geno is an elite level quarterback.
When you guys were talking, did you ever walk away and go, "Did we just become best friends?"
Yes, and then the next time I walked into town, it was like he didn't know who I was. Like he's like, "Hey, guy,
I remember.
guy, yeah,
Hey, Mike,
yeah."
Mick.
Right.
I remember you
There
telling
were
that
so many
story.
times. There
Yeah.
was so many times that I was like, Pete and I just connected. He's probably going to give me his phone number, and we're going to be in touch. And then I'd walk in the very next week, and it was like literally he did not know who I was. I was like, this dude. I mean, like it was insane to me. But he's always been very gracious. So
Yeah.
he just sometimes he just forgets who
He's
I
got
am.
he's got a lot on his mind.
I love
Yeah.
that. He's going to give me his phone number.
Yeah.
Hey, who's going to be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to come to a decision at some point? I know Terry Bradshaw had some kind of funny comments about the whole thing,
Yeah.
saying, good riddance, they don't need him. What are you doing? What do you think? I mean, is he the guy they should be going after? How much better are they going to be with a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers? Are you surprised it hasn't happened to this point?
Well, I think it probably behind the scenes has already happened. I think, I'm pretty, and I don't have any inside information, but I would just say, reading the tea leaves, he probably has a playbook. He's probably in good with Arthur Smith, their coordinator right now. They're probably going through things as we speak. He's just not, he's just busy trolling different NFL franchises and everybody in America right now. So I feel like that deal is done. Based upon who they have playing quarterback right now, yeah, he's a significant upgrade. Um, and I tell you, I did a Jets game late last year. And so when I dug into the film, like, because you saw the games on TV, you saw from London him, throwing pick sixes and not looking very good. And so then I dig into the film with the Jets, and it was borderline embarrassing how poorly coached they were. From a schematic standpoint, especially in the run game, they did things that blew my mind from the standpoint of you cannot do that. Like it was for me, it was like elementary football and some of the things they were doing, and it just was like it made no sense. And and then sitting down with Aaron, we probably talked 30 minutes just on the run game alone. The guy is from a football standpoint, the guy is brilliant. Like he really understands every aspect of the game. And then as I'm digging through the film, man, the dude was actually playing really well, and he had an ankle injury early and a knee injury early, and he was really limited with his ability to move around. But it was funny watching, even on Sunday, watching him warm up, and his knowledge is supreme, but his arm talent. I'm watching him versus a bunch of 25-year-old quarterbacks, right, that are playing professional football warm up, and it's not close. Like the way he lets go, the way he throws the ball, it was, I mean, it was like one of those things, like put a tie on the doorknob. I'm watching Aaron Rodgers throw. It's freaking awesome. And so the guy can still sling it. His knowledge is supreme. And I just think he was really not very healthy the first 7, 8 weeks of the season. And then he was incredibly frustrated because that coaching staff was incompetent for the Jets, just flat incompetent. So was the organization.
Yeah. You got what you wanted out of this, didn't you? We're laughing at your stupid jokes.
That was a good one.
I know.
That was very
I
subtle.
know.
He just delivers it very subtly. He just keeps going.
Hadn't heard that one from Schlereth. Hey, before the draft, real quick, I stopped into at the front desk with the Seahawks and the gal sitting there, Bailey. I went up and asked her. I'm like, hey, do you have people like sending you things? And she's like, oh yeah, we have people calling in and telling us who to draft, and then sending ideas about what you should do offensively and which guys you should take and everything. You're a recognizable guy. Do you ever get anybody coming up to you talking about, trying to tell you about scheme or, this player or that player? Or
yeah, you follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't.
get that. I get that occasionally. But while you were over there at the Seahawks, did you eat in their players' cafeteria? The food is delicious.
No,
you should try it.
I wasn't allowed up there for some reason.
You were invited up
Yeah.
there. You should go up there. You should try to get a pass.
Tell him
or
you know
something.
Mark.
He was there for 2 days. He had like his own parking pass.
He had his own locker.
Everything, access to everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was interesting. No, we actually did get food there, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, they do. They do
They
nice
got
work.
They've got a great cafeteria up there in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Like that's the biggest part about calling games on Sunday for Fox is traveling around to each facility and kind of grading the food.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks are right up there. The Seahawks are right up there.
That's good to know.
Class organization.
Are you going to be coming out for training camp this year?
Not unless somebody calls me and asks me, I suppose. But I haven't gotten any phone calls.
Well, we'll
I
call
don't
you.
know. I don't know Michael Macdonald, so I don't. He and I are not. We're not. This Michael Macdonald. He and I are like this.
Yeah.
And this is me over here.
Okay.
I'm over.
You're the
I'm over
thumb.
here. Yeah, when we cross our fingers, I'm the thumb on the side, just looking in, going, "Hello, what's going on out there?" Yeah.
Well, hopefully he'll put that call in and get you out there. You guys can spark up a friendship.
That's right, and we
Yeah.
can torment Dave, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I would love that.
Mark, we always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, stay safe out there in New York. Looks lovely behind you, and keep up the great work, man.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.
There you go. Mark Schlereth, everybody. Always great stuff with him. Put a tie on the doorknob.